And first, let me show you what to do, okay? A good example, which is butterbrot. Butterbrot? Ah, there it is. Okay, butterbrot. Okay, behold, get ready for the most beautiful texturing. Look at this. Okay, it's kind of bright, okay? I know that. But the texturing here is so nicely done. Especially in-game, it comes across even better. Like, maybe in the world builder you don't see it as nicely, but, like, look how many textures are just in this tiny section here, okay? Let's have a quick look. So we go. Okay, you can see the texture here, right? When I select a new one, it goes there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? 5? I think that's it. I think it's 5 textures. Did I have this one? Yeah, I did, I think. Alright, so there's like at least 5 textures in this tiny little section, okay? And that's how you know that this guy, he knows what he's doing, okay? So this is Spekovic who made this. I mean, like, the guy is a legend when it comes to texturing specifically. He's very good. He also did a DEFCON remake. Let me check if I have that one. Balanced, I think it was this one. Was it this one? I think it was. Not quite sure. But anyway, basically what I want to show you guys is the concept of texturing. You can use loads of textures together in a tiny part, and that makes it look really nice and cool and fresh. Because if you get a new map, right? Let me just put a new map. You take any texture. Doesn't really matter which texture, but let's go with, like, I don't know, some desert one that everyone uses, like this one. Okay, very popular texture. If you just have this, you know, a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, it looks fine, looks great, you know, oh, it's beautiful, just leaving it like this. But it's not good. Look, you can literally see like a straight line starting to form here, okay? And you might say, ah, man, who the hell notices that? Trust me, it's noticeable. Or like this little bright patch is literally repeated here, is literally repeated here and here, because they're textures, they're repeating. So in order to get rid of that repetition, what you do is you mix it up with another texture. So you'll take something that is like this, and you're like, oh, let me see something that matches. Maybe something like this. You could just kind of run it through it, just a little bit, right? Just a little, you see how random I'm doing this. And then you go to the blending one. There you go. Now, if you look at this little section here, it's already way better because you don't have that repetition thing going on, right? You don't have repetition of this texture, which you can see like this will also have its own repetitions, you know, and it doesn't have the repetitions of this texture in this, like, tiny section here. And, you know, it kind of makes a difference, kind of matters. Now, another thing I need to cover, and this is something that really, I mean, it kind of bothers me, is the transition of textures, okay? If you have, let's get some water going here. Just give me a sec here. Gonna have a bit of water. Where's the water line? There's the water. Okay, you're gonna find people who are like, oh, let me put a beach texture, right? And this is something that, like I said, it just kind of bothers me just a little bit. So they'll have their water, okay? They'll say, like, okay, wait, let me finish completing here. There we go. Proper beach, right? So they'll say, okay, I'm gonna have a beach here, so I'm gonna make it look all good. So what do? They get, where is it? Beach tropical. You got some good beach textures here. They might take, no, this one looks too white, I think. Was it this one? Yeah, like this one, you know, pretty decent beach texture, right? And then what they do is like, okay, I'm gonna stop now and start focusing on like a grassy area. So they might transition and just do this, right? Just get like a little grassy. No, that one's ugly. This one, I think, this one's alright. It's a bit strong, but it'll get the point across. And what they'll do is they'll just kind of do this, you know, just cover this to the side. And the idea is, like, you have a beach section, and then for the rest you have, like, a grass map or something like that. And what they do is they simply do this. They just blend it. And it's like, okay. So what happens is you got something that's clearly very sandy, right? Very sandy. And then instantly jumps in the most luscious green grass you've ever seen. And it's like, no, no. Have you ever gone to the beach and it just like literally goes from sheer desert bland sand to insta-covered rainforest-style grass? No, don't do this. Don't do this. Okay, what makes more sense, all right, is if you say, okay, let's make a transition happening. Look, you even have a thing called transition, you know. Anyway, so what you do is, it was in Beach Tropical, right? There was something like this, right? So what you can do is you can introduce. Oh, that's a bit one. There's a lighter one, I think, right? Or no? No, there isn't. Okay, so we'll just do like a little bit like this. So what you do is you introduce a couple of grass patches here and there, right? I mean, I'm doing this very rough. This is not pro quality texturing, but I'm just trying to give the point across. So what you do is that, okay? And then what you do is you take a grass texture that's in between this and in between this, okay? So I don't really know of any, like, from the top of my head. Probably should have tried looking some up, but maybe this, maybe this. Okay, this is already a bit, all right, that's not bad, right? That's not bad. So what we do is, might as well, just give me a sec here. Might as well switch out the texture to this, right? And already it makes a difference. You can already see like, this could blend, right? What you do is you could take this and just create at least like a line, okay? Like at least something. It's a little different here, you know? And then play around a little bit, you know? Like something like this. Just little bits and pieces, like really transition that stuff, you know? Just don't worry about it. Just do it, okay? Just do it. And we blend, we blend, we blend. We blend. Okay, and it's still looking kind of crappy. Okay, don't get me wrong. It's still looking a bit crappy. But you gotta go down this route. And you're gonna find other textures that then match and work. Let's see the one I had here. Maybe there are some other accent textures nearby. And if it comes to looking for textures, the answer is yes. You literally have to just scroll through each and every one of them. Don't stick to like, oh, I've used this one from Beach Park, so I'm only going to use the ones from Beach Park. No, don't do that. It'll probably bite you in the butt. Okay, so we add a few accent textures here and there. Okay, just a couple here and there. Just kind of, again, change things up just a little bit. Okay, just a little bit. Blend. Oh my god, it still looks like ass, but doesn't matter though, doesn't matter. So what you can do is, you get the picture, right? Okay, so these are a bit poorly chosen, I think, from me, the textures. Well, you're gonna find that as you go through each and every single texture, like what I'm doing here, you might eventually bump into one and you're like, hey, this one might work. Okay, no, the sand color is a bit weird, but you get what I mean. That's the point, right? I'm trying to teach you something, but not really, you know. Maybe this one, let's see. Yeah, it's not bad, it's not bad. Yeah, like you got some patches that, yeah, I think this one works a bit better. Right? So what you do is you kind of focus on having a transition happening like that. Let's see, if you have just one patch here, does that look nice? No, okay. So here we go. This is another example. This is just too big a transition. Doesn't make sense. It looks ugly. Okay, don't do that. So it's all about finding a nice way, a nice balance, and things like that. Again, this still doesn't really look that great. But now if we switch it up to that original texture that we had in mind that we wanted to use for most of our map, should be this one. And again, this is still not really great advice on just blob it up, but again, like I said, just trying to show an idea. Look, okay, and now you can see the blending is already a bit better here, okay? It's going, if you start with your beach and look at this now, you don't go, wow, this is so out of place, this green texture. But in the beginning, you know, if you scroll back in the video or in the stream, if you saw like how this went to instantly this, you're like, oh my god, it looks horrible, like forget it, no way, it's terrible. But here, it's already sort of starting to chug along, just a little bit, okay? And again, I'm just doing this very fast, very rough. So the thing is, when it comes to textures, the more you are like a brain surgeon, the better, man, the better. Like, you're gonna get, like what I showed you with that map from Spekovic, that Butterbroad map. If you do things like that, you focus on putting like a million textures in a tiny spot. Oh man, it just really comes to life, man. It really comes to life. Let's open it again, have a quick look. The sand to rocks to grass. Yeah. No, but here, look at this exact, this section, right? You have, I think this is a desert texture. Yeah, look, see, this is a desert texture, right? And it marks it as desert. Oh, bloody air as always. So this, even though it says it's a desert texture, is being used in a grassland map, okay? So don't worry about the headings. You just really have to manually scroll through each and every one of them to try and find something that works. And this guy, he's like, well, this texture works with this one. Look, see that transition, man? It's near flawless. You really got to zoom and stuff. Anyway, so then, you know, it's basically about a few things when it comes to picking the right textures. And that is, you gotta do the hard work. You gotta sit there and scroll through that freaking texture list, no joke, a minimum of 5 times. Minimum, from top to bottom. You're gonna do this, you can press the down arrow and just keep looking at the preview, and then you're like, I don't know, does this work? Does that work? Just try it out. You're like, ooh, this is a nice one. Will this go with my main texture? You try it out, you're like, ew, no, it's horrible. Then you Ctrl-Z, you keep on going, my friend. You keep on going, and eventually you're like, this could work maybe on the side of some mountains. So you get some mountains. I'm going to show you how to get mountains the bad way. Remember, I showed you the good way. But you might have like some idea for mountains. And you say, okay, I can put this on the side at the base of my mountains, and that might look nice. Let's have a look if it actually looks nice. Yeah, not bad, not bad. Okay. But then you're like, okay, let's get some mountains. So you look through the mountains, so you start all over again. You have to start from the top and then go all the way down. Like, maybe I'll find a nice mountain. And you keep going until you eventually are like, hey, this could work. Of course, I'm not reaching any of those. Oh, here, maybe this one. Okay, so you try. You're like, does this work? You're like, not bad, actually. Does it work with the texture? Yeah, it kind of does, in a way. Like, oh, all I need is maybe to put a couple trees. And then it's nice and works. Just about, you know? Well, my trees are not spreading out properly. You know, maybe you say, oh, maybe I should try with a different type of tree or something. But here you go. It's already looking a bit more decent, right? Not bad. So that's basically texturing in a nutshell. You gotta spend the time to try and find the right textures. Also, when you get a mountain, don't use just one mountain texture. Big mistake. Some people do that. So yes, I'm gonna show you again. You gotta painstakingly, gotta keep going. Find another mountain texture. Come on, find me another mountain texture. Find me. Okay, this one. This might work. Let's see. So, you have the single texture tile or the multi-size texture tile. So that would be here, size and cells, or this is just a single one. So if you already have something like this, okay, you probably just want to use the single tile. Just try and accent it just a little bit. Just kind of go over it a bit. And then like blend it outwards. So you got your blending tool. You blend outwards, something like that. So you might say, oh, Legionnaire, it looks the same, what the hell? But it doesn't, man, it doesn't. Here, this was how it looked. This is the end result with more textures. You get slightly more of a nice feel to it. Like, I already feel like this section is already still a bit more like the same looking. So maybe I'll just expand it a tiny bit like this and see if that already gives it a bit more of a dynamic feel. And it does, it does. In fact, because of how the texture is, I kind of want to like do some height differences here as well. But I mean, we already covered height differences and how to do mountains and stuff. So what you basically should do is watch that if you haven't seen that, and then go here and have a look at how to texture and stuff. But this is just a random bit of mountain that I did. You see it very quickly. Don't do it very quickly, okay? Spend the time going through the textures, see what works. These textures clearly are not ideal. You can see it. It's not a perfect, nice blend. But if you find the right combination of textures, this level of blending probably would be just about good enough. Anyway, so that's the thing. Find the right textures, and usually what you do is, or what you see is that mappers, they might just get their 5 most used textures and they do this. They put it on the side of the map, somewhere here. Let's see what else was used, like this. They just kind of put them something like this. You don't have to do this. You're not more professional if you do it. You're not noob if you do it. It's all up to you how you want to do it. But like this, what they do is they kind of use it like a canvas. No, not a canvas. What is it? Like the thing that artists hold when they have all their like paint blobs on it. You know what I'm talking about. So like literally they would just be working somewhere here and like, oh, I need that texture. And they scroll to the side. They hold down Alt. They click on the texture and then they have it. And then they continue painting. And then they go back, hold down Alt, click the next one. And then they can continue painting. And they always know that which texture they're working with. So that's important. You can do that if you want. Alternatively, as you're working, you can always just click here, Alt, and then you have this one selected, or this one, or this one. You know, you can do those tricks. That works fine as well. Okay, so I basically talked about finding the right textures for the map. That's very important. Okay, another thing that I need to cover is height issues. So if you get this, okay, look at this. Look at this crap, man. It's like somebody vomited on the side of the mountain here. Like, what the hell is this? This... Okay, these specific sort of weird things where it starts to like become like weird triangle things, those are issues related to height, okay? So your height increase is just a little too much for the game engine to handle. So just click on this, the softener or smoother or whatever, and just gently kind of go over it. And it doesn't matter if suddenly now the issue expands, okay? Just keep going. And if you see it expanding, then go to wherever it expanded. Look, you see this new one showed up now. It doesn't matter. Just keep going over it until everything clicks fine, okay? So you're like, okay, it's looking good, right? It's looking good. Wrong. There's literally one right there. Right there. Look. Okay, yeah, you gotta zoom in a little. But it's there. Now you see it, right? But from a distance, you might not notice it as such. And you might say, oh, Legionnaire, come on, that's just being anal. No, it's not anal. You'll notice it. People will notice it. And you'll say, okay, fine. Maybe not many people will notice it. But look at this, right? It does stick out just a little bit, like a bit of a sore thumb. Just fix it. Look, just fix it. Poof, gone. This one. Just kind of, you know, go around it. Come on. There we go. Fixed. Gone. Perfect. Fluid. Smoothing. Nice. Yes. Excellent. That's what you want. There you go. Problem solved. So how can you spot these things? cncHD has done a tutorial on them. I think there was a way that you can see them a little bit better. I think there was but it says something like show three-way blends or... here we go. Three-way blends. Right. Okay, so what is a three-way blend? What does it do? It means that 3 textures have come together on the same area, so that increases the chance of a texture error happening. I guess that was slightly different from the height issue, because the height issue doesn't apply to that. Look. You see? It doesn't highlight it. But yeah, so three-way blend is 3 textures coming together. So here you have this texture plus this bottom one, and that is a three-way blend. Three-way blends are not always wrong, but they do increase the chance of errors. So if you switch that on, you can see an issue. And in fact, immediately here we have 2 little errors here. Now, how do you get rid of these bastards? Okay? There are a couple of ways to do it, okay? One, which is the way cncHD recommends, which I guess works, is with this tool, okay? The blending tool. And you can like blend, like click and drag. So you click here, drag to the square and let go. And it will try and do some blending thing or something. And there you go. Okay, I fixed it on this side. And you can do it. Just kind of play around a bit until it works. Sort of. I don't know. I'm not having a great time with it. I never really had a great time with this tool. What I usually just do is accept my fate and know that I gotta restart or redo this little section. So what I would do is I would take the ground sort of here. So I would hold Alt, select here, so I see which texture is selected, and I see, is this a texture that I want over here? Is this a texture that makes sense? And I'm looking like, no, it's basically this texture down here that I've got. But most of this area should be this texture. So let's start with that one. And then I'm like, okay, who's gonna blend into this, right? And I'm thinking, well, it's probably going to be blending in from here, which is mostly, in my opinion, I want it to be the grass one. So you do it as the grass one. And now you're looking at this section, right? This grass one. This grass one, if you blend, you got to imagine it expanding, and it's going to cover these surrounding 8 tiles, okay? And it's going to have an easy time blending into them. So if they're already blended, you got to remove that blend. You got to undo it. So in order to do that, we're going to have to literally do this. Boof, okay? This is just a normal texture here. This one, I don't know. Let's see what's going to happen. I don't really want to touch it yet. This one is this one. Then this one, and then this one, right? So these would be, and these other 3 here we can ignore. They don't really need to be reblended. And I would just, hopefully it fixed it. Okay, so it fixed all of them, apart from this one here. So we do Control Z, and we say, okay, what originally was here, and he claims it's this one. Let's try the other one, okay? Let's see if that works. We blend, okay, it seems to work. And now we still have a tiny little blending issue here. What if we blend from this side? Doesn't do it. What if we blend from this side? Doesn't do it. Okay, so now you get to a dilemma where it's like, it's almost like you can't really see it. You can't freaking see it. Like, unless you zoom in the way I'm zooming in, it's very unlikely. From a distance, like, where is it? I can't even find where I was anymore. You know, so you get those kind of situations where it's gonna be like you, the editor, because you're so zoomed in, you will find it, but it's basically okay. You could still try and spend time optimizing it, like doing these blend things, but you know, I don't know. There are times that it does work. You can do 3-way blends. I've done them in the past. But yeah, basically what it comes down to is just, my advice is just kind of surround the texture in what should have been the other base textures and just try and reblending. Alternatively, what you could do, let me just Control Z all this. People going, no, don't undo all the hard work. Okay, so basically let's start from here. What you could do is just kind of brute force your way. So you can get like, can can just kind of do something like this. Okay. And in a way, to an extent, we can now remove that three-way blend as well. Okay. So this is something else that you could do. Again, these are always just tricks. They don't always work. You just got to play around. There we go. It seems to have worked, apart from this section here. Like this little tiny little bit there. So what we could do is just kind of do this. What if we do this? See if it works. Okay, now we still have the issue here. You see why texture blending is a pain in the ass? I'm really having a hard time here on stream. I actually got pretty decent at texture blending over time, but I seem to have forgotten and lost my tricks. Yeah, I still have some small issues here. But anyway, you can see what I'm doing. I'm just basically messing around until everything finally clicks. So that is really just the best you can do, really. So I'm just gonna go over these now. And there we go. I think I did it. Yeah, okay, I did it. You see, no texture errors now, all good. And I think I just did it by just removing the three-way blend. But I have seen three-way blends work in the past. So let's have a look at... Where was it? Some three-way blends. Okay, so it claims... Let's go down here, for example. Let's go here. Is there an error here? Yeah, there is. Okay, so what we could do... Let's not dick around. We just kind of say, hey, let's just make this whole section sand. Okay, then we're going to undo the blends here. Okay. Wait, what's this? Okay. Alright, so I seem to have fixed it on the left-hand side. Mostly, again, you have that very hard to see one, which is fine, really. But here we have an issue still, so we could try the tool of directional blending. Yeah, I guess it's not great. Don't really like it. Bothers me just a little bit. Wait, let me see. Okay, so the problem was that I blended some inwards and some outwards. That's the issue here. Okay. That is always very dangerous to do. Because if you blend sometimes inwards, sometimes outwards, you are going to get way more texture errors. So I'll cover that in a sec. Let me just do this. There we go. Blending solved. Okay, so what did I mean about blending inwards and blending outwards? Okay, so let me show you guys. Let's get some textures going. Let's do 4 and some other texture. Doesn't really matter which ones. Okay, so you got the concept of blending inwards and blending outwards. So let's blend outwards here for this one. So that means you click on the texture and it blends outwards. As a result, this thing becomes a bit bigger. If you compare the size, you know, just through vision, you see that this looks a bit bigger than this because it blended outwards. It was using the outside tiles here to blend in with the grass texture. Now, blending inwards is where you take the outside texture, which in this case is the grass, and you blend from there. As a result, it's going to take the inner line and start using that to blend the texture. You see what I mean? So even though both these textures are technically the same size, look, if I go on the outer side here, all right, wait, if I do this, does this help? Sort of, right? So you can see with the grid here, it's a 4x4, yeah? And the same here, it's a 4x4. But this, it used the inner sort of like line here to blend, and here it used an outer line to blend. So if I click here, it will say it's grass. If I click here, it'll say it's grass. If I click on the inside of the texture, it'll say it's this. And the same here, it will say it's this, even though I'm clicking here. So that's very important, because if you start taking textures like this, right? And you do something like this, and you do something like this, okay? And what you do is you blend outwards. And then you're like, actually, you know what? It would be nice if I do something like this. Now you start blending inwards. You're gonna have a bad time. It's gonna get all weird and funky. Generally, it's best to just try blend outwards with one texture. And then, wait, let me see. Poof. You see, it's already better. You still have a few texture errors, but they're very easy to fix because you just literally do this. You find the original texture and then reblend them. There you go. And solved, you know? And then it's fine. So yeah, that's generally a nice little tip there. Another thing is the smallest you can possibly get a texture to look in the game, looking nice and blended, is by blending outwards. Okay, so let me take the sand one so you can clearly see. Okay, so look at this. Wait. I'm almost done, guys. I'm almost done. So if you look at this, and if you look at this. Okay, so one of them is just a line of just a thickness of just 1 unit. The other one's a thickness of 2 units. Now, you would think that this one, no matter what, is going to become the smaller guy. But it's not true. It's this one is going to become the smaller guy. Look, if I blend the left one, I blend it outwards, right? So it's going to use the tiles to the left and the tiles to the right to blend, okay? But if I do it like this and blend inwards, look how tiny, look how small. Oh my god, it's barely visible, right? And the funny thing is, again, if you look, this is technically 2 in width because it's using its sort of own sort of content or its own area to blend inwards, right? Whereas this one, you can see the clear line still here of where it was, but it was blending outwards. So that is a very important trick. If you guys ever need to like surgeon accuracy like blending, you always got to do it like this, okay? You're gonna have to have a 2 width texture like this and then blend into it, okay? Don't do this. This is not like, I mean, you can do this, but as in if you want to have that surgeon accuracy, this won't be as accurate. And I think that basically covers everything when it comes to texturing. Yeah, for the rest, I suggest you guys follow the tutorial by cncHD. I'll put a link in the video description as well. And yeah, another thing is just look around for maps who you feel are just absolutely like perfectly textured. Also, Dragon Canyon, the one I showed last time, is pretty sick if you look at the texturing. You know, I mean, the geometry of this was great. I already covered that. But even the texturing here, let me get rid of the waypoints. They're a bit annoying. You can see, like, the guy has some very nice transitions happening, and it feels natural. So if you have this one, this texture then blends into this, then blends into this, then blends into the darker one. But if we have, like, an area where there's quite a bit of the dark stuff... Okay, let's get rid of the trees. If you compare one of the textures that he has straight to this... and just blend, it doesn't look nice, you know, it doesn't look nice. So that's why you need this concept of transitioning. The more transition textures you use, the better. And oh, there is one very important thing I need to talk to you guys about, especially since a lot of you will be doing 7-player maps, which are kind of big, which is that you cannot have unlimited texture blends. Yes, let that sink in. You cannot have unlimited texture blending. You cannot. The game has a limit because the game hates you. It hates you so intensely. Oh my god. So if you want to find out, you go to... was it this one? Texture sizing. And I think texture sizing info. And it tells you this. This very, very scary thing. Now, most of you won't run into this, but there is a chance that it'll say blend tiles used, and it will say it's maxed out, reaching 100%, and it will downright refuse to blend your textures. Okay? Now, why does that happen? I'll tell you. To give you an idea, it actually happened to my Instashop map, where literally I was working and halfway through the map, it told me that. Halfway fucking through the map. I was so pissed off, man. I was so pissed off. Okay, so let me try and find a good example. Okay, so this one. This texture, if I cover... Wait, let me see... Just give me a second here, give me a sec. I gotta do a bit of investigations. Ooh. He doesn't have any zero textures. Oh, that's a little annoying. For the sake of example, it would have been nice. Okay, I think this is... I think I'll just change his main texture, right? So, let me see if I can just illustrate my point right here, right now. So, here we go. 57%. So, we're 57% of what... of texture blending here. If I do this... Okay? Look at that. Ooh, look at that. Okay, again, I'm just doing it for sake of example. So, 57. Is it still going to be 57? Is it? 66! What the hell just happened there? We just shot up by almost 10%. And you might think, wait, so does that mean, like, you know, 100%? You're kind of getting close. This is only a 1v1 map, man. This is a 1v1 map. If I have a 7-player map, then, you know, with the texture blending, like, what the hell? We're in trouble, right? Okay, so let me explain 1 second what the hell happened there. You see next to the textures, there's a percentage, okay? I never understood what the hell that meant. But basically, it means something like along the lines of how big the texture is. So, how big is the texture? Like, the bigger the texture, the less it sort of repeats itself as well, I think. So, if you have, like this one is 11%, so it's massive. Look at that. You can see it starts to repeat. Let's look at this thing. It starts to repeat all the way up here, and then all the way up here, right? If you change that for something like 0, this one should repeat itself a lot. And in fact, look, this is already repeating here, repeating here. You can see it's repeating itself a lot because the texture itself is smaller. That's it. The image size is smaller. So for some reason, the game has difficulty with that. The bigger the texture is, okay, the more you're going to have these blending things sucking up percentage. So the worst thing you can have is, as a main texture, you take something that's like 11%. Your main texture ideally should be 2% or 0%. Okay, so if you have... Those look kind of cool, I'm not going to lie. It looks kind of funky, right? But if you have something like this, right? Let me see what his original one was. It was this one, right? So his original one is 2%, which is a pretty good texture to have. But if you switch it out to a 0% texture... right? That should be then going to reduce it. So you go 57%. Let's see, maybe I'll go to 56. Okay, let's have a look. 56. You see, so it went down just a little bit because it was already 2% or 4 versus 0%. So basically, this is what you're gonna do. As a main texture, especially for the 7-player maps, guys, you're gonna have to do 2% or 0%. Absolute best case, I mean, absolute worst case, you go 4%, but don't you dare go for like an 11%, because there are some grass textures that are 11%, and that was the issue I was having with my Ice Shock map, where I was using one of those, and that was causing the texturing issue. So that is something to keep in mind. For the rest, you know, if you are running into the blending issue, like with reaching high percentages in the 90s, although I doubt most of you will, just try and replace out some of the 11% textures that you have, because I'm sure you've got them, and that should sort that issue out. But it's a rare issue, but when you do bump into it, it can be hell, because you don't know where the hell to start or how to fix it, because there's like 0 documentation on this, and literally the only reason I found out is because Pasha told me, so, and we only found by accident, I think, so there you go. So yes, that covers texturing. I know, oh my god, texturing, it's so much. But it's a lot of things that need to be said, right? It's a lot of things that need to be said.